Good evening, guys, and welcome to week for this semester or trimester. Week four was primarily focusing on um, work inclusion as well as the social media theory, which focused on self-esteem and diversity and how cross-cultural diversity begins with IO psychology. Now, for me, I believe that the social media theory was actually one of the most, I say, informative readings as far as theory goes. Research was actually repetitive, but they had accumulated a lot of documentations that would actually support this theory. I like the fact that they began by presenting different aspects of self-esteem, and the primary one starting basically coming into like a transitional aspect and a sequential aspect of psychologies, well, IO psychologies and different branches of psychology's historic approach of self-esteem. The primary being, and my favorite one, which I'm actually doing personal research on right now, is actually the evolutionary psychology, which is very interesting because they explain, and I believe it's the most scientific aspect of psychology as far as understanding how developed behaviors are developed. It begins by explaining the primary needs, which transition into the hierarchical needs you can see replicated throughout history, is the primary needs of psychological development, which begins with survival tactics. Survival was always been the primary and would be the initial primitive aspect of psychology where it comes for human beings, because most of our learned behaviors and most of our developed behaviors comes from a necessity to live. So first being the fight or flight pattern, you can see that in all aspects of psychology. And if you withdrawn that back, let's say for example, interaction, social interaction, you will see the fight and flight pattern and behaviors of how somebody interacts with with a social group. So I found that very fascinating. But as far as the social media identifying the functioning of self-esteem, because the social media primarily existed as a way to monitor social environments for cues indicating low and declining rational evaluations. But I do believe that this article failed to explain the most internalized aspect of it, which is, in my opinion, the locus of control, another psychological theory which is widely known. And I theorize that, well, self-esteem is basically could be put into a small equation where you see higher internalized of control or locus of control plus negative results equals lower self-esteem. Higher levels of internalized locus of control and positive results equals high self-esteem. And same goes for vice versa. Higher level of externalized locus of control and positive results is low self-esteem, and higher levels of locus of control, externalized, and negative results equals, well, lower self-esteem. Oh, high self-esteem, my apologies. So I don't know if I confused with that. But yeah, that was very fascinating to me. And I do believe self-esteem could just be broken down to that theory as far as evaluating self-esteem and how it's constructed, because there's a lot of aspects of the personal and personality that cannot be rationalized. And even though they mentioned the hierarchy of needs and motivational aspect of it, that one was ruled out because of the fact that it's simply just too vague and it's too repetitive, and it doesn't necessarily address psychological needs as well needs, psychological wants as needs, which could be actually especially nowadays, because needs is dependent on survival, and we have constructed a society and we constructed a social system that expands beyond just physical needs. So the definition of needs will actually be altered in today's society. So yes, self-esteem is a need. The need to group is a need, and unfortunately I believe psychologically that self-esteem has become a compass or a tool that humans use in order to evolve more, actually, in a certain aspect of finding their support system. So it is catching kind of a need, because if you do not have that need to belong, if you do not have that ability to belong, then your chances of surviving in society, and unfortunately, even though we do not put emphasis on the psychological and the mental aspect of um, survival, reality of it is you could be alive, but you will not progress. And in society, when you're not progressing and you're not, you know, a constant part of this society and a constant part of a social group, then you begin to see a declining in mental stability, as well as a declining in somebody's well-being. Um, as far as the diversity goes, I wanted to first address diversity as far as my workplace. Um, my workplace tries to enforce inclusion, as in like there is a constant group um intergroup interactions, I would say. But mostly, especially this digital age, we see it as more as a teams group, where individuals who participate in different groups, and we always make sure that one person in the department is in another department. So communications is important. As far as diversity goes, we have so much range as race goes, but in my specific billing department, as far as gender goes, it's only like three guys in the billing company. But the other departments, you begin to see the males are mostly in the doctors. The doctors are mostly males. There is one female, but we trying to enforce more of a structure at work of diversity. And as far as race goes, it is probably one of the most diversified workplace I worked in. But as far as gender, well, there's only two gender, but you do see a bias in a hierarchical structure in the gender system, which is uncanny, because even though I am one of the um three males there, as far as like people that started with me, I do see like a little bit of bias as far as work ethics and workload, and the fact that I probably get more credit than I should, and I've received direct comments that says that because I'm a guy, I received that, and I do believe that in certain aspect it is, but I want to look more into that without offending anyone, because I do believe that I am partially being treated better because of the fact that I might be a male in the gender stereotype that comes with being a male. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it.